this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
Welcome to another episode of Get It Right Texoma with the trio. I'm Mike Hendren, Terry McAdams, next to me, next to him, Trey Sarala. Welcome. Glad to have you here. We love to get together and entertain and inform you, and we ask you to please do share this with everyone you know on social media. Help us spread the word about the podcast.
Like and subscribe.
Yes, definitely.
As they say.
As they say.
As the kids say.
That's what the hip crowd says.
Yeah.
And then also be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit our website, getitrighttexoma.com. And of course, we're on Facebook, and you know the drill. I mean, if you're on social media at all, you know the drill. So we appreciate all the support, and we appreciate all the shares, absolutely, and your comments too. We'd love to get your feedback as well, as often as you can, as long as it's nice. We don't want to hear any griping and complaining. No, I'm kidding. I know we don't.
Yeah, good. Well, all the nice stuff direct to Trace Ralla. All the negative stuff direct to Mike Hendry.
Yeah, send over here to the fat kid. Yeah, that's me. Anyway, where are we out here?
And all the brisket to me.
There you go. And all the brisket to Terry. That's a smart move.
It's like, man, what do I get out of this? And I was like, well, I want brisket, so I'll take all the brisket.
Oh, you and that brisket, man. Have you had your cholesterol checked lately? Good grief.
Hey, I had some yesterday, actually. There's a place in Dallas we went to. It's kind of cool. I forget the name of it right now, but it was, I actually have now had asked ChatGPT for a cool and interesting place to eat for lunch between our destination in Dallas and home, and it's so far
both
so
times?
Good. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Found the place Legacy. They have on Legacy in Dallas. There's this place that has like a food court all over, and it's a venue of some sort and everything. But it was cool, and we could pick this time.
The last barbecue joint I ate at out of town was called Rudy's.
It's Rudy's. Yeah, they're chain. Yeah,
that's what that used to be our go-to at College Station. Yeah, when we went and visited my kids when they were at A&M.
Yeah.
Rudy's barbecue is pretty good.
Pretty good food.
Yeah.
For the money.
Yeah.
We spent, $16 a head to eat there, and it was pretty good. So.
Down in the Dallas area, Patriotic Pig is really good. Real good barbecue. But I still think some of the best barbecue between here and there is in Decatur.
Oh, which one is it?
Right, it's right off. It's Ritzy B's now. It was Cow Creek or whatever.
Oh,
but for years, it's just north of Decatur by the rest stop that's still shut down. It's been shut down for about 4 years. Yeah, right there on the north side of Decatur. For years, it was a bar. It was a steakhouse. Yeah, and they turned into a restaurant.
What is it with rest stops in Texas?
I don't know.
We shut them down. We renovate them, and it takes as much time to renovate them as it does to build another lane on 35.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just nuts. Anyway,
speaking of
restaurants, we try to focus on a locally owned restaurant every episode that we do of this show. This particular episode, we're going to talk about P3.
Pioneer used to be Pioneer 3.
Pioneer 3. P3 locally is what it's known as. The Pioneer chain of restaurants was started here decades ago by the McBride family.
In the 30s, I believe.
Yep. And at one time, there were 7 or 8 Pioneer restaurants in the area. And I'm told there never was really a Pioneer number 1. They started with P2 because they wanted to create the perception that they were already bigger than they were.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard.
Hey.
But anyway, only one of the original McBride branded restaurants is now back in McBride family hands. The rest of them have been sold off over the years, including P3. And the guy that owns it is about as legendary as the restaurant itself, Brady Crumpler.
Yeah. Former professional cowboy.
He was a rodeo cowboy, professional cowboy, and a real cowboy.
Yeah. And
the real deal.
And he and his family for years raised cutting horses out by Freeburg Cooper.
Yep.
Up there. So Brady got in the restaurant business probably a decade ago.
It's been at least that. Yeah. He bought the restaurant. It was, it was one of those local legendary eateries that was kind of falling into disrepair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Brady comes along and spends a bunch of money to clean it up, fix it up, redo a bunch of things. He's got the brightest, whitest roof I've ever seen in my life on a building. And but anyway, it has evolved a little bit. here's the thing: they still have the enchiladas, the world famous
Right.
enchiladas.
They still kept a lot of the same recipes.
A lot of the same recipe.
Their chicken fried steak was legendary.
A lot of the menu is the same thing that you would have had there 45, 50 years ago. But the whole place has really kind of evolved into a really cool, kind of a little bit of a niche restaurant in town that's just been a cornerstone of the restaurant scene here for the last probably 70, 75
Long
years.
time. Yeah, I don't know how long that building's been there, but it's been a long time.
I mean, it's always been an operating restaurant. I don't think it's ever been shut down for any length of time. But it was, when you and I were growing up here, it was still a McBride family restaurant. And still, I can remember going in there as a kid. You'd open the door, and there was a layer of smoke that just sort of hovered in the air over everybody.
Yep.
Back when you could smoke in a restaurant.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
They have the jukeboxes,
they had the little jukeboxes on the
wall,
the booth.
Yeah.
They also had. Do you remember that weird looking star looking thing they used to have out front?
On the sign.
On the sign.
It rotated.
Yeah. I don't know if it rotated or not, but it was like a little. Like a starburst or something like that.
Yes.
Very, very, very 60s looking or 50s looking.
Yeah. I often wondered, what if that falls? I don't. But anyway, you walk in. Back in the day, you go in there and you could sit down and order your enchiladas and get on the jukebox and listen to Hank Williams sing "Tear in My Beer" and "Smoke in My Eye."
There you go.
So,
and there really was smoke in your eye.
There really was smoke in your eye.
No, it's a great place to eat. Good chicken fried steak is great. Their enchiladas, they've had those pioneer enchiladas.
Smoke is gone.
That are known. Yeah, smoke is gone. That are known for years. And I'm gonna tell you another neat thing. You can actually go and get the enchiladas to go.
Oh yeah.
In other words, they'll put them all together and not even cook them. You can take them home, throw them in, buy a dozen of them or whatever, throw them in the oven, and you can just cook them in the oven yourself, and then you get a hot, fresh Pioneer enchiladas at your house without having to do any work. All you got to do is throw it in the oven.
I know people who'll do that. They'll go buy a couple of pans of these things, go put them in the freezer, and maybe they buy them a month before Thanksgiving or something. If they don't want to do turkey and dressing for Thanksgiving, maybe they want to do tamales. They go get the Pioneer tamales and freeze them, and when it's time, they thaw them out and bake them.
All right,
all's good.
So they have a special, I guess. Is it each day? Although we're recording on Friday, so the Friday lunch special is ham and cabbage, chicken fried steak, and then there's a Mexican special. So they got all kinds of different.
Oh yeah, but they're open for breakfast, lunch, dinner. They've got a real good breakfast.
But they're located basically at the intersection of Old Iowa Park Road or Business 287, however you want to look at it, and Shepherd Access Road. I think the address is actually Shepherd Access Road.
Right down the road.
It's right over the viaduct.
Over the bridge.
Yeah.
And then right there.
Yeah. It's practically walking distance from Eddie Hills, but ain't nobody walking from there to get there. They gonna drive.
That's right. Yeah, you're gonna drive over there.
So anyway.
All right.
P3, check them out.
You go in there, tell Brady you heard it here. You will not get a discount on a damn thing, but just tell him you heard it here. Kaylee Robinson is the new parks director, Wichita Falls. Terry Points was her predecessor. Led the parks department in Wichita Falls for 3 decades. And I guess he retired,
Yeah, he retired in March.
After 30 years, seriously, Terry, what's up? Come on. Couldn't do 35?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're kidding. Calm down. Anyway, so I don't know how long Kaylee's been with the city, but I think she has a little history with them too. I don't think she's brand
really know.
I don't think she's brand new. I think she's had some work. But anyway, but she's the new parks director.
So there's also going to be a new city manager at some point.
There's going to be a new city manager, and matter of fact, I just this week had a conversation with a couple of city officials. They were at a meeting, a real estate meeting that I was a part of. And we spent about 2 hours with these guys talking about zoning and planning and all the different, permitting and all the different things that they do, things that are relevant to the real estate world, and how some of these things work. Of course, one of the things that we have to be aware of, when we're dealing in real estate, flood zones and floodways and which can be, where the utility lines are. It's amazing how many areas in Wichita Falls are kind of landlocked to public utilities. There are properties that don't have access to city water or sewer services simply because of how the lots were platted out decades ago.
Right.
and the way they were bought up, and basically, you know, we got a situation right now with someone that, you know, kind of landlocked on their property and can't get to water. You know, there's a main close, but you'd have to go across someone's private property to access it. And so we were talking about things like that. There's some complicated issues that a lot of times the city can't do anything about it. They just have to, you know.
Well, there's laws in place.
There's laws in place.
They have to follow whatever the rules
and
of the law.
And there's state and federal laws. There's certain hurdles that they can't eliminate for you.
That's what. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When there's a law that's, like you said, a state or a federal law, the city can't usurp it.
Like the law of, like, you know, going across somebody's property without permission.
But, you know, one of the things that several of us had,
trespass thing.
Yeah. If you see a purple post, turn around and leave. But one of the things that several of us sort of reiterated to them is with the new city manager coming on board, one of the things we need the new city manager to do is be in the community, be visible, be available, be a resource, especially for business owners, especially where businesses are concerned. I think that's one of the most critical areas where city management can really benefit the community, is being in touch with the business owners and the decision makers, listen to your concerns, and respond. Yeah. I think that's the biggest problem we had with the previous city manager was a lack of involvement, a lack of communication, a lack of response. Well, it's just the communication just wasn't there.
Right, but then he didn't have a sense of what was he didn't have his thumb or finger or whatever on the pulse to to truly understand what's going on.
Yeah, well, hopefully that's a different situation with the new guy.
Yeah. You know, perception's reality. Yeah. And it's one of those deals. Maybe the former city manager did have his finger on the pulse, but we don't know. That's the point is, I understand what Mike's point is. If you're not visible, then who knows? I mean, you may know everything that's going on. You may be in control of everything like that, but if nobody knows, then the expectations don't.
Communication is a huge two-way street.
Yeah, communication is huge.
And it is critical to getting anything done. It's critical.
True communication. I guess you can communicate a message, but you don't know that it was received if you don't get feedback. So it's a loop. It's a feedback loop, you know. So there you go.
KFDX here, which the NBC affiliate here, apparently cleaned up at the Texas Broadcast News Awards.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought this was really neat. I wanted to give them props.
It looked like they just mopped the floor with everybody. Natalie McCain and Curtis Jackson took home the Continuing Coverage Award. Jalen Wells is the only. It's just the only name I know on this paper.
Oh, you know MJ Barrett and Tobin McDuff.
I know Tobin, but I don't know anybody else. I think Josh Hoggard and I have met. Anyway, so Natalie and Curtis took home the Continuing Coverage Award. Jalen Wells and Emily Faith brought home the Best News Anchor Team Award. Josh Hoggard won for specialty and best coverage for his crime and court reports. MJ Barrett won for Best Sports Reporter. Tobin McDuff's been around here since about 1883.
Yeah, he's been around a long time.
Long time. They call him the old man. Tobin took home a whopping 3 awards for Best Sports Anchor and Sportscaster. He and Curtis Jackson also won for the story about the late Brad Boyd and his battle with cancer, which received the Best Sports Story of the Year award.
Let me tell you something. I was at an event. I was at the Nexstar event where they played that story about Brad Boyd. Brad Boyd was a coach at Burke Burnett High School, which is a local town that's close to us, and he played college football. He was a really healthy guy and everything like that. Had kids that played sports. In fact, his son, I think, just finished his senior year as quarterback. Brad was a head football coach, and he got cancer. And it's his battle with cancer, and it took his life. And this was at D.L. Ligon Coliseum. It was this massive arena completely full of people. And I don't know that there was a dry eye in the house when they played that story, and that was Curtis and Tobin McDuff put that together, and it was so touching, and it had interviews with not only Brad but his family and that sort of thing. So great job, and Tobin's been around so long. He's got a pretty fascinating story. I interviewed him one time for a sports radio show I used to do, And Tobin literally came to Wichita Falls, and I think he knocked on KFDX's back door first, which is the CBS affiliate.
KUZ.
KUZ, CBS affiliate. I think he knocked on their door first, and they were like, yeah, well, we don't have any jobs or anything opening like that. So he went over to the other one and started working there, and now he's a sports director, and he's been there, and he's kind of the staple. He is the staple there. He's been there longer than anybody has.
He's got a key to the closets.
Yep. I mean, I think Daryl Franklin, who's the news director, has been around for a long time as well, but I'm pretty sure Tobin's been around for longer.
I mean, when they give you access to the pens and the tablets, you got the paper.
There you go. Yeah.
You're in, man.
So great job, KFDX, for that. Great job over there.
One last one. Dylan Jimenez won an award for best reporter.
Cool.
So yeah, there you go. So congratulations, KFDX. Way to go there, guys. Seriously, guys, that's pretty amazing. You just swept it there. You really did. Wink Martindale, legendary game show host.
The only reason I have it in there is because I was a kid. I remember Wink Martindale.
Yes.
You would hear Wink Martindale's name on all the time. He was part, I think because his name is so strange.
Yeah.
He was part of the lexicon of culture in the 70s and the 80s. You would see TV shows and Wink Martindale would either pop up as a cameo, or he would or they would use his name. His name was in part of the joke or part of the story or part of the whatever.
A lot of producer credits in there. I think he hosted the 70s version of Tic Tac Dough.
I think that's right.
He was 95 years old. So
yeah, he had a long career.
Good long life, long career. I think he was working up until very recently.
His name really? What was his real name? Winston Conrad
Wink Martindale.
I'd have gone by Wink too.
Yeah,
Winston Conrad.
I'll tell you what, with a name like Winston Conrad
from Jackson, Tennessee.
Yeah,
with a name like Winston Conrad, you better be successful.
Yeah.
Well, and he, I guess he had a radio career and.
Yeah, most of those TV guys started in radio.
Well, that far back.
Yeah, there wasn't hardly TV when he started.
Right.
You don't ever hear anybody say, "Winston, clean up on aisle 3."
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
There's no Winston. Yeah,
Winston
happen. Is an old name.
It is an old name, but
it's very proper sounding as well. Yeah. Winston.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
But anyhow, Wink Martindale, like I said, he's kind of a bastion of our past. If you grew up in the 70s and 80s,
let's be honest. Hayden ain't nothing to sleep on.
Hayden has made a resurgence. But you're right. When I was growing up there, I didn't know any other Haydens other than my granddad and my dad.
How'd you become Trey?
Third.
He's number 3 in the line.
Ironically, there's 3 Hayden Saralas, and none of us went by our name, Hayden. I take that back. Legally, we did. But my granddad, a lot of his friends and family called him Fox.
Fox.
His dad nicknamed him Fox when he was young. My dad, to everybody here in Wichita Falls, he was Hayden, but to his family, and his friends when he was growing up, he was Sonny. And then I've been called Trey. Yeah. Ever since I was a little kid.
But see, if he'd have been 4th in line, we'd be calling him Quattro.
That's right, Quad.
Yeah. Well, then, but you're. I've heard people actually Quint. I know somebody named Quint.
Yeah.
But anyway, when you get mail or an email or something, if it says Hayden and not Trey, you don't know who you are.
I know if somebody
calls. A phone call.
Right. If somebody calls, I know it's my probation officer. If he says Hayden.
Well, I want to move on here to this story about the Kings Ranch data centers. Guys, this is huge news for Wichita Falls.
Yes, it is.
Is this the huge one that they were talking about? They couldn't say who it was yet? Or
this might be one of them. There's another possible data center that's looking at Wichita Falls.
Right.
That's even bigger than this.
Okay, so
this is going to be 2 data centers.
This will be 2. There's 33 acres of land on Old Burke Road that's actually being annexed by the city. Now, a lot of people on social media have gotten this completely wrong because they're talking out of their backside here, and they don't understand. In Texas, the rules by which a city can annex land through eminent domain or whatever, the rules have changed. It doesn't work the way it did 30 years ago at all. The rules have changed totally. This company, Kings Ranch Data, they're based in Fort Worth. They asked for this to be voluntarily annexed into the
That's
city
right.
of Wichita Falls.
This was a voluntary annexation.
So that they would have access legally to city water services, sewer services, etc. This, by annexing this property in, they thereby have access to city services that they would not have access to.
And they're
if
going to pay
they
city
were,
taxes.
And they're going to pay city tax. Yes. Yes. So this is 33 acres, 2 data centers, and they're going to build a gas power plant that will basically generate the power.
Do you know
to
where
run the
this
data
is on Old
centers.
Burke Road?
I think this is out getting as you move toward Burke Burnett. I think it's got to be.
It would have to be. Yeah,
It
it
would
could
have
be
to
down
be.
in Wichita Falls. Yeah, I'm not sure where it is.
This might be. There's an area out there on Old Burke Road.
Between Bacon Switch and
It's out there maybe between 240 and 44
yeah,
in that
that's
area.
probably in their area.
I'd have to look at a map to tell you exactly where.
Because the
I got
base
a
is on
pretty
one
good
side,
idea.
so you're not going to go over the base.
No, you're not.
So
You're
this
not.
is.
So,
Okay.
anyhow.
But anyway, this is going to be huge for Wichita Falls, guys.
Yeah.
We need more industry here, and industry today is not just manufacturing.
No,
This is an industry, and a growing industry.
absolutely.
It's something, and Terry can explain this probably better than any one of us.
Absolutely
about
can.
the value of these data centers and why they're so important and why they're expanding so
Well,
rapidly.
you've heard of ChatGPT and AI. Well, that is part of it. Is that
it takes data. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's having to spread the load, if you will, across for various reasons. But you have to have these data centers. And then, of course, we're just collecting more and more data. I mean, and generating more data. And there's just, more and more automation. I mean, there's just, and again, these data centers provide two things. One is obviously expansion, but then there's also replication. So that this data center here, if something happens in one place, there's a backup, if you will. There's redundancy. And so that's,
So it's a real backup. It's a for real backup.
yes, yeah. They write the information to multiple places. See,
Backups have backups.
That's
There you
right.
go.
But part of you can correct me if I'm wrong. Part of the evolution of this has been the fact that technology has gotten less expensive.
Right.
Memory has gotten bigger. You can put more data in a smaller space
Yep.
than you ever have been able to before.
Yep.
And so these data centers, while they're going to be massive, these are going to be huge warehouses, basically with servers
and a lot of air conditioning.
a lot of air conditioning and
that's
cooling
true.
and all that. But it's the fact that you can store so much information. And like you said, we're collecting more data. We collect more data. We generate more data today than we ever have before. But part of the reason we're able to do that is the fact that the technology has gotten smaller, cheaper, faster.
Right.
That's right.
Absolutely.
I
I mean,
mean,
I
that's
have
what's
fiber out
led
at
to
my
this.
house in Clay County, in
Yeah.
an island of about 40 homes.
Yeah.
And,
And just 7 or 8 years ago, your only option was probably wireless internet.
wireless,
Wireless
I had
internet.
I could get 10 meg is all the best
Not
I could
7 or
ever
8 years
get.
ago. 3 years ago.
Yeah,
3 years
it was
ago.
3 years ago. I was
Yeah,
on
2
10
years
meg.
ago.
Now,
2 years ago,
now
maybe.
I was slightly down the hill a little bit, or far enough away that there were enough that they could only get me 10 meg. Although other customers would
When
get
I first
50.
when I first moved out there, I could only get 5.
Yeah,
10 years ago, I could get 5 meg. There was one company
Yep.
who could reach me at the time, and I could 5 meg up and down. Then I was like George Jefferson, moving on up to 10 meg. About 4 years in, I got went to 10 meg, and now we've got fiber. So yeah. And that,
Who got the fiber out there?
Spectrum?
Okay, so
Yeah, but I think that's like a year, roughly a year and a half ago.
And
thank you, federal government. By the way, that was a federally funded thing.
let me give you the real estate agent's perspective here, me being one. This makes
You sure you don't just play one on TV?
Well, I did stay at a Motel 6 once also,
There you
so
go.
that helps. But from a marketing standpoint, it makes your property more marketable and more
absolutely.
valuable
Yeah.
than it was before. People say, well, what does fiber have to do with the value of my home? If you have people, more and more people working from home, working remotely, they need access to high-speed internet. They need access to reliable fiber internet.
Or they want it.
Or they want it.
They
Yeah,
just
or they
flat
want
want it.
it.
But if, in
Both.
your case,
Right.
you can actually, well, two things. They're not even going to look at it if it's not got anything high speed internet, fiber now.
I've worked with clients. I'm working with one right now, in fact, that they want to look at properties that are out in the country. They don't want to. They don't want to be 40 miles away from the nearest town, but they want to be far enough away that they have a little bit of peace and quiet at night when they lay down at night. But they also need reliable internet services because they work from home, or they're working remotely, or like you said, they just want it. But in most of the people I've encountered, they're working remotely and they have to have access to good quality, high speed, reliable internet in order to do their jobs. So that adds a lot of value to properties outside the city limits, out in the country now, that now have access to that. Now suddenly, the audience to which you can market that home has now grown.
Expanded, yeah.
You've got more people that's attractive to.
And that's bringing people into this area.
Of course it is, yeah.
And because that is one thing, because I know you've mentioned that several of your clients, just many of them say, I need to have X, internet. And that's it. I have to. And that, for whatever, they've learned about Wichita Falls, and they hey, so. Awesome.
But these data centers are going to be a game changer for us, big time. And I know there's more stuff on the horizon beyond the data centers. I know there's more stuff coming, and there's stuff that they can't even talk about yet.
Right. Well, I think it's also neat that they're actually going to build a plant to generate their own electricity.
Yes.
Right. Yes. So that's even better.
And anybody that's worried about water with all of this, let me tell you something. Yes, of course they're going to use some water. They're going to have chillers and cooler, stuff like that, or whatever.
It's not a manufacturing facility.
No.
A lot of that, I think, is recycled as well.
It is recycled.
When you put that in those chillers, it has drain pans, and it could recycle a lot of that water.
Exactly. And guys, our water situation in Wichita Falls is not what it was 10 years ago.
No.
We are in a totally different place now, water-wise, and it's getting better.
So none of our data is likely to ever even be in this thing, right?
No,
because
right.
I don't know if there's.
You sure? Because it's a lot closer. It'd be a lot easier to stick.
I know.
It'd be easier to stick your data over there than to stick it over somewhere else.
Well,
man. Come on, man.
Well, so anyway, Apple.
Now, Terry, y'all going to run a truck over there daily to put your data in?
Yeah, there you go. Hey, you know what? That actually, that is not a far-fetched thing. Here's what happens. There are companies that have so much data that it would take forever to get the data moved over the internet. Mm-hmm. What they do is Amazon and several other companies will literally ship out on an 18-wheeler a data center, a portable data center. They plug into the company's data. They do a quick, fast local download.
See, I knew all that.
And then they carry it physically to the data center to then upload it for the initial backup.
Like I said, of course, Terry. I mean, I'm glad you described it in layman's terms, because I would have described it in much more technical terms. But me describing it a bit. We threw that shit in the back of the pickup, ran it over yonder.
But all in all, you really do have to be careful where you stick your data, don't you?
You got to be careful because
we hooked it up with some cables. We got some old jumper cables out there, and
your data can be compromised, or
do not put your data on the wrong port.
So
is there a way to protect yourself from the wrong port?
Absolutely. I can help you with that.
They'll only fit a certain way. I mean, you know how it is. You've ever tried to jam one of those HDMI cords into one of the USB ports?
Yeah, that doesn't work.
It just doesn't work.
No.
No matter how hard you shove that thing.
Let's explain how we benefit. Yes, there's not going to be a ton of jobs, but they are what jobs there are. They're going to be rather technical. Yes. But then where we benefit is from that 33 acres of land with super high valued equipment that gets taxed on an annual basis.
That's right.
That's how it helps us. It then helps lower the overall, spreads the load.
Spreads the load on the economy.
Right, and spreads the cost of running the city and the county and all of that across more value, because that's how your home and business property and all of that is what pays part of the bill.
That's it.
So a lot of exciting things.
I got to knock off right there if we can.
Yep, we are. We're going to wrap it up here, guys. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Get It Right Texoma, brought to you by Eddie Hills Fun Cycles, 401 North Scott in downtown Wichita Falls. Been there since 1966, and they ain't going anywhere. Get them online at eddieHillsFunCycles.com. MacTech Solutions, 4020 Ray Road here in Wichita Falls, Suite 3B, your Apple authorized reseller. And if you need repair on your Apple devices,
no matter where you bought it,
no matter where you got it, you bring it here, and they can take care of you at MacTech Solutions. Online, mactech-solutions.com.
When did you turn Yankee all of a sudden there?
The
That Cam.
They parked the car.
Yeah,
Get down here. I got to find my keys to get in the car.
I hope I don't have a hat attack.
I don't know where the hell this came from. And Lolly and Pop's Sweet Shop, Lollie, and Pop's, P-O-P-S, Sweet Shop on Facebook, online, lpsweet.com, your online bakery. Some fantastic treats for you. Always ready to take your orders, and delivery is free within 25 miles of Wichita Falls all the time on orders of $25 and up. Lolly and Pop's Sweet Shop, lpsweet.com. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Be sure to visit GetItRightTexoma.com and check us out on Facebook. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you've not done so already. Until next time, take care. We shall see you down the road.